actually don't like the fact that we're associated with anything negative ever. That is Aaron and Jimmy. They've been
jousting a bit.
There's accusations made about people that can lead to lawsuits. Why Jimmy Kimmel felt the way he felt, especially with his position, but I think Aaron was just trying to talk shit. Now,
a few days ago, we made a video on Aaron Rodgers' latest controversy, and to be honest, I didn't think it would escalate to this point. I didn't think the individuals that platformed the conversation would be in trouble as well. But it seems like this snowballed into something completely different, and it's affecting ESPN and Pat McAfee. So you guys know we're huge fans of the Pat McAfee show. I mean, his jersey's on my backdrop, for crying out loud. But the situation is very, very hairy. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Make sure you check out our channel memberships program if you want to get some of our content a little earlier. And now that we get all of that out of the way, we made $1,100 off of a $20 entry on Prize Picks. And it wasn't just me, it was everyone that followed these picks on my Instagram story. And the best feeling is the amount of people that made money as a result of this. I mean, bam, 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 bam. My DMs were flooded, so the best part for me was seeing you guys make money as well. But we're not done yet. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, use my promo code Mikerophone to double your deposit up until $100 on Prize Picks. And I give away my picks on a daily basis for free on my Instagram story and now my Snapchat story. We're having so much fun doing this. I'm so happy that I made you guys some money. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? One of my favorite creators in the space is none other than Pat McAfee, a man that really leveraged his career as a punter into being one of the most entertaining forces in sports broadcasting. And something I really respect about this man is also his work ethic. I mean, the amount of stuff he does on top of what he does on a daily basis is insane. There was a period of time where he was doing SmackDown on Friday nights, and he would do College Game Day on Saturday afternoon, on top of running his show on a day-to-day basis. Needless to say, I have a lot of respect for an individual with his work ethic. With that being said, one of the huge driving forces in Pat McAfee's growth was none other than his exclusive series with Aaron Rodgers. As you know, prior to him having Aaron Rodgers each and every Tuesday on his channel, it was kind of difficult to get Aaron Rodgers to trust any individual in the media because at the same time, he was such an enigmatic figure. I don't really blame Aaron Rodgers for not trusting anyone in the media, but in the case of Pat McAfee, he had someone that he really could trust. And when you combine that with the fact that Aaron Rodgers is no stranger to controversy and is really good at leveraging controversy into attention, then if you're an individual like Pat McAfee, Aaron Rodgers is going to be good for your show each and every single week. I mean, when Aaron Rodgers was announcing that he wanted to be traded to the New York Jets, he did it on Pat McAfee's show, and there were over 130,000 people watching on YouTube alone. So there's no question about it. Aaron Rodgers has been incredible for Pat McAfee's growth. And I'm not saying he's the sole reason Pat McAfee grew, but he definitely expedited his growth as well. Prior to this year, Pat McAfee was primarily partnered with FanDuel TV, which essentially signed him to a 4-year, $120 million contract, gave him a boatload of money, and had him sit back to do whatever the hell he wanted. Because at the end of the day, it was working. A huge reason why people loved Pat McAfee's show so much was because he was 100% unapologetically himself. So when he decided to opt out of that deal this past summer and announced that he was going to sign with ESPN, some people were concerned about the integrity of the show. And I could understand both sides. From Pat McAfee's perspective, you partner with ESPN, they give you a lot of stuff from the production perspective, in addition to potential connections and insiders in the industry to improve the quality of your product. The caveat of that is you might have to sacrifice what made your show to begin with. And up until this point, there was never a problem with that, except for the fact that he doesn't say the word fuck as much as he once did. But from the past week, for the very first time, we're seeing a little bit of a clashing between ESPN and Pat McAfee over the contents of his show. So this past week, Aaron Rodgers showed up on Pat McAfee's show and made a little joke at Jimmy Kimmel's expense about his name being on the list of the Epstein logs.
Epstein list that came out?
Feels like
That's supposed to be coming out soon. A lot of people, including Jimmy Kimmel, are really hoping that doesn't. If that list comes out, I definitely will be popping some sort of bottle.
Up until this point, Rodgers and Kimmel had a little bit of a back and forth going on. And maybe in Aaron Rodgers' head, he's thinking, hey, this guy always pokes jokes at me all the time. I'm going to make one at his expense. Jimmy Kimmel didn't take to this kindly. He posted a viral tweet where he essentially threatened Aaron Rodgers with a lawsuit, where he quote tweeted it and said, "Dear asshole, for the record, I've not met, flown with, visited, or had any contact whatsoever with Epstein, nor will you find my name on any list other than the clearly phony nonsense that soft-brain wackos like yourself can't seem to distinguish from reality. Your reckless words put my family in danger. Keep it up and we will debate the facts further in court." Now, I don't want this to turn into a video of whether or not Jimmy Kimmel was on the island, because that's not what we typically cover on this channel. I think from my knowledge, so far, Kimmel has not appeared on any sort of list. But the thing that is significant here is this tweet got 109.7 million views. And it's a quote tweet of Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee's show. This is a home run in media. I don't care what you say. Anytime you generate 110 million views on any content that you generate, just for sitting back and interviewing a superstar in the NFL, hell, it wasn't your fault. I mean, yeah, I guess AJ Hawk kind of baited Aaron Rodgers into saying it, but how was AJ Hawk supposed to know that Aaron Rodgers was going to come out and slam dunk on Jimmy Kimmel? So for the most part, when I made my first video on this, it didn't even occur to me that Pat McAfee could get into trouble for this. But on the next day, McAfee had to apologize. And he said what I would expect him to say.
A massive overnight story, one in which, put baby down, sleep, haven't seen her in a while, and then I pick up my phone. Oh, boy. But I can see exactly why Jimmy Kimmel felt the way he felt, especially with his position. But I think Aaron was just trying to talk shit. Now, did it go too far? In a lot of people, Jimmy Kimmel certainly said that was the case. We and I immediately upon it happening, trying to be like, ooh, you know. But that is Aaron and Jimmy. They've been
jousting a bit.
I don't know, you know? So, like, we obviously don't like the fact that we're associated with anything negative ever. We like our show to be an uplifting one, a happy one, a fun one, but it's because we talk shit and try to make light of everything. Some things, obviously, people get very pissed off about, especially when they're that serious allegations. So we apologize for being a part of it. Can't wait to hear what Aaron has to say about it. Hopefully those two will just be able to settle this, you know? Not court-wise, but be able to chit-chat, move along. Because remember, you're allowed to disagree with people's opinions. You're allowed to say, like, I don't...
To be honest, I felt like that should have been the end of it. I don't always agree with Pat McAfee, but in this particular case, it's just a guest he had on his show. It's without a doubt his most prolific guest on his show. But it seems like this isn't done yet. As a matter of fact, according to Mike Florio, there's a report that the Aaron Rodgers-Jimmy Kimmel fight opens a big can of worms for ESPN. Translation: the suits don't like the fact that Aaron Rodgers said this on Pat McAfee's show, which is owned by ESPN. The show is, not Pat McAfee. And this is not a good look for ESPN. And this is really sketchy if you take a look at it. According to this article, Aaron Rodgers' suggestion that ABC late night host Jimmy Kimmel's on the client list has opened a big can of worms for ESPN, reports FrontOfficeSports.com. The item cites an unnamed ESPN source. This is where it gets interesting. And Pat McAfee actually exposes who this is later on. But before we get to that, on Wednesday, ESPN's Pat McAfee apologized for the show's role in Aaron Rodgers' remarks about Kimmel. Rodgers has remained silent. He'll presumably address the situation next Tuesday when he next appears on McAfee's show. However, if Rodgers feels compelled to apologize, he could post something on X whenever he wants. Which, by the way, that's never been Aaron Rodgers' style. He's always been the type that would make an appearance in the media and address it then and there. He's never made any tweet apology or made any demands via tweet, so at least from my knowledge. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Apart from the potential liability Rodgers has incurred by linking Kimmel to Epstein, Rogers' remarks could prompt Disney to tell ESPN to ban Rogers from Pat McAfee's show. Rogers has a deal with McAfee's show that would be tough to void. The unnamed ESPN source told FrontOfficeSports.com both Rogers and McAfee don't care about the repercussions. This is so aggressive, it's kind of crazy because, first of all, McAfee apologized on Wednesday. Clearly, he cares about the repercussions. I mean, this didn't even occur to me until he apologized. Now, here's where it gets a little uncomfortable. Is Aaron Rodgers going to apologize? I mean, that's going to be very interesting to take a look at because he's always been, well, Aaron Rodgers, unapologetically himself. Now, it's really crazy how aggressive this article is, I must admit. And losing Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show would, without a doubt, be Pat McAfee's worst nightmare. But McAfee wasn't really happy about the fact that this article came out. As a matter of fact, he declared war on the individual that ratted him out. Watch.
Anyways, we're very appreciative, and we understand that more people are watching this show than ever before. We're very thankful for the ESPN folks being very hospitable. Now, there are some people actively trying to sabotage us from within ESPN. Funny. More specifically, I believe Norby Williamson is the guy who is attempting to sabotage our program. I'm not 100% sure. That is just seemingly the only human that has information, and then somehow that information gets leaked and it's wrong, and then it sets a narrative of what our show is. And then are we just going to combat that from a rat every single time? I don't know. But like, somebody tried to get ahead of our actual ratings release with wrong numbers 12 hours beforehand. That's a sabotage attempt. And it's been happening basically this entire season from some people who didn't necessarily love the old edition of the Pat McAfee show to the ESPN family. Sure. There's a lot of those. We've heard them anonymously quoted in the Washington Post, in the New York Post, in the New York Times, in the LA Times, in Wall Street Journal. And they're never like, yeah, love the show. This is awesome. It's always like little things to try to tear us down. So even with the enemy within our own camp, somebody that I don't like that guy. That guy left me in his office for 45 minutes, no-showed me in 2018. So this guy has had zero respect for me. And in return, same thing back to him for a long time. So even with that taking place and potential PR, like we're still growing somehow. Yep. So we're very thankful. Yeah. I think we're doing it right. We're trying to do it as right as possible. We have good intentions every single time we come in here. We don't always get it right, but motherfuckers been getting it wrong for a long time in this specific field. Long time.
A lot of people had some questions about whether or not a partnership between Pat McAfee and ESPN made sense to begin with. I mean, my own personal questions had to do about situations like this. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers coming out and giving his own theories about life that doesn't necessarily sit well with a company like Disney. And then at the same time, you have the ESPN watermark on the bottom right, while Pat McAfee is calling out an ESPN executive. Personally, I don't think Pat McAfee needs any business advice. I usually think matters like this get handled behind closed doors. I'm interested in seeing what the fallout from this situation is, because I don't know the history between this Williamson individual and Pat McAfee. At the end of the day, his show was thriving, his show was growing, and he got caught in the middle because for the very first time in his career, Aaron Rodgers said something controversial, but this time it was while he was on a mainstream platform. So let me know in the comment section down below how you think this is going to shake out. Do you think there's a world where Aaron Rodgers stops appearing on the Pat McAfee show? Do you think ESPN is going to do something about this Norby Williamson individual that Pat McAfee just declared war on? Do you think Pat McAfee took the best road and approach to resolve this conflict? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.